Do you guys ever have a game you really like? You know, you do a few playthroughs of it, maybe get a shirt for it, you find some fan art and make one of the characters your PFP, you have your loved ones get you a figurine of the main character for Christmas, even though Amazon lists there's only one left on sale for $30-something when they normally go for over $100, and you end up getting it as your favorite gift you got that year, even though it just sits there above your desk. What, just me? The World Ends With You is an action RPG for the Nintendo DS, controlled primarily by the touchscreen. It's got an intriguing story, perfectly written characters, a gameplay loop that has you always hoping for more, and fucking Tin Pin Slammer! It's peak, and honestly this video alone probably can't do it justice. But I can sure as hell try to. Starting off with this game's story. I don't want to spoil it at all, because if I did, we'd be here for longer than I have the patience to either script or edit for. But I'll tell you the building blocks this game uses to construct its story. The World Ends With You, or TWEWY as I'm going to refer to it, is about the Reaper's game, a set of games you play after your life has passed. Essentially, once you die, the Reapers take the thing you care about most from you as an ante and plop you into their world. You're given a goal every day and you need to complete it, with your character being scored on how well they do said task. But this isn't a fun summer camp game of finding the eggs in the abandoned forest, for you see, if you don't complete your task, you end up getting erased. What does that mean exactly? So imagine if everything about you and all the marks you left on this world got undone. What, too dark? You're fighting not only for your chance to come back to life, but to have all you've done not forgotten. It's an honest-to-God grim thought when you think about it. Your loved ones forgetting who you are, your artwork you've spent hundreds of hours making gone, your slightly regrettable takes you posted online deleted. I learned After Effects. I can't have that go to waste. All of this takes place in the UG, which totally doesn't just stand for underground, a flipped version of our world, the RG, which totally doesn't just stand for real ground. You're able to see people from the RG, but you can't interact with them at all. You phase right through each other. These people are just living their lives and have no idea you're even there, which makes the ability to read their minds kinda creepy. To solve these goals, you often have to read the minds of these people and affect the real world through increasingly asinine ways. Have you ever wanted to imprint thoughts into someone's head to help them become a successful businessman? You get to do that. Have you ever wanted to be the spirit of a fucked up Ouija board? You get to do that. Have you ever wanted to fix someone's depression by killing monsters in their head? You get to do that. You don't do this alone, however. You have to make a pact with a partner. You end up doing this 3 times in the game. They cover a wide range of emotions, from happy, to then a character you wish to throw in a deep chasm and never see return. It's like a real group project. This partnership allows you two to use the power these pins have, called psychs. They range from your standard hand beams and fireballs to dropping the entire landfill on your enemy out of nowhere, but we'll get back to that later when we talk about gameplay. This game ends up dropping a lot of new things on you as you go, too. From the mystery of who's even controlling this game, to the reason why you even died, all while cheating you out of your hard-earned win every single time. The game is meant to end after a week, with the winner going back to the real world and getting their ante back. Notice how I said winner and you work in pairs of 2! The Reapers of this game are practically that kid on the playground who has an anti-attack force field to win all games of pretend, except this time you can't tell him that he's no fun and you don't want to play with him! Every time you get cheated out of your win, you truly feel like it. I may not be the type of person to objectively review things, even this video is incredibly biased, but I can't help but gush about how well executed the dialogue is in this game. From the main characters you see day by day being a treat, to even the minor characters and the goddamn flavor text. You get to read people's thoughts, and this isn't just an ability you use when the story says you do. This game's setting and plot is only one half of it, in all honesty. This game isn't just a good story featuring good characters, this game is a good story about good characters. And this is where a lot of my love for the game comes from. From the amazingly written partners in this game, to the smaller Reapers who all have their little quirks to them, to the phenomenally written Game Master Reapers who all wear their hyperfixations on their goddamn tongue with how much they talk about them. This part of the video is going to spoil certain major plot points. While this will still leave some mysteries for you if you wish to play the game yourself, I recommend if you want to avoid spoilers, skip this segment of the video. I'm also sorry for making this the longest part. We're gonna start with the first character you end up meeting, Shiki Mizaki, a fashion designer girl with self-esteem issues which bleed into her ante for this game, being the ability to look up Shiki Mizaki on Google Images and get the right design. Shiki's ante was odd. Instead of looking like herself now, she looks like her best friend from back in the RG, Eri, who she always idolized, both in appearance and her fashion design skills. It's honestly a wonderful way to play with self-esteem issues and how desiring to look like somebody else can potentially make you lose who you are. This is the best characterization she gets, unfortunately. Look, I mentioned this game has amazing writing and characters, but Shiki unfortunately got the ball dropped pretty damn hard. While there's deeper meaning to be had, after you learn about the basics of her character, the game just kinda gives up. Still, I think she's written well overall. They had a fantastic idea with her auntie, and she plays into the main character's arc exceptionally well. It's just, with playing into Neku's arc so heavily, she loses the interest her character could have had. But that's better than nothing, and I for one still find her amazing in this game. She's the one who sets you on the right path, gets you to open up about the idea of enjoying others' company, and even becomes your auntie after she wins the first week, leaving you now not just playing for yourself, but playing for her, the thing that means the most to you. This is followed up by a rat bastard spoiled rich kid who thinks he's better than you! Joshua Kiryu, your partner for the second week, is an asshole, through and through. He leads you on, telling you he knows more about this game than he's letting on, toying with his own partner when it's both of your existence on the line. And with a high-pitched, shriveling voice, he's not just suggesting what you two do throughout your daily mission, but he's commanding you. If you want to learn more about this game and learn more about why you're here, you have to listen to him, and he knows that. It wraps back to that feeling I mentioned earlier. This game sets you up perfectly. Whatever emotion they want you to feel, they make sure you feel it. Partnering up with Joshua this week feels like you're being led along one breadcrumb at a time. It makes you feel like you're being toyed with but are powerless to stop it. And it's amazing! I typically despise characters like this in games, your Kokichi Omas, your Nagito Kamaidas, but Joshua is written in a way that, while I would hate to know him in real life still, I absolutely adore the purpose he serves in this game. Maybe it's partially due to the fact he can back it up. He's not useless in combat, he has one of the better assists. Not to mention the new abilities and new things you learn about this world through him. It's clear he does want to help, just on his own terms. And lastly, for the partners, we've got Beat. Look at this guy, how could you not love him? Beat's a skater dude who you meet during the first week of the game with his little sister Rhyme. While Rhyme herself doesn't get too much characterization in this game, it's fair to say the impression the two left on Neku is massive. Seeing these two get along and work together for a day and a half really changed Neku's attitude. Why only that long? Yeah, you see, Ryan gets theoretically erased. It's the first time you see this, and it really makes you take in just how serious this all is. Beat just thinks he lost his sister, and soon he's done for since without a partner he can't defend himself. Of course, there's still more to it. One of the guiding figures in this game, Mr. H, or Hanakoma, tells them there might be a way to save Rhyme still, and that's the last you see of Beat for week 1. For week 2, he ends up joining the Reapers, getting what we can only imagine is an immense power boost, and notably has a tiny little hamster on his shoulder, presumably Rhyme, just in a different package. Beat ends up fighting you a few times this week, but he always stops short of finishing you off. While he only met Neku for a short time, when he was at his worst to be fair, it's obvious he doesn't want to bring harm. He's just acting the part, for now. After week 2, the game is breaking at the seams. Neku is supposedly the only player left in the game, and with nobody to make a team with, he's presumably done for. That is, until Beat shows back up for this week, throwing away his Reaper status and creating a pact with you, with the Reapers taking Rhyme as his auntie, and slowly erasing him from existence throughout the week. This leaves the last week of the game feeling like a race against the clock, to not only complete the missions and figure out as much as you can, but to not let Beat get erased. He saved you, so you can't let him down now. Week 3 is where Beat also truly comes into his own as a character. You learn why him and Rhyme are both here. A traffic accident that was caused by Rhyme running into the road after an argument, with Beat trying to protect his little sister, and they both end up getting run over. This is why Beat cares so much for Rhyme. He's protective. He doesn't want his sister to go out all because of his mistake with getting into an argument, and this is coupled with the fact of how well Rhyme and Beat contrast each other. While the two get along fantastically any moment we see, Beat sheds some light into their home life. TWEWY doesn't stop short to let you know that Beat isn't the brightest bulb in the batch, but Rhyme? Rhyme's a goddamn OLED screen. The dichotomy of a brilliant younger sister and an older brother who doesn't exactly fit into the school system like expected is a piece of backstory that all puts the pieces together. His parents comparing him to Rhyme may have partially caused him to be so protective of her. In his own eyes, while he doesn't have a bright future, she does. Of course, through meeting Neku at this part of the game, he learns what he does have is special, and how even if he isn't traditionally book smart, there's plenty places where he can shine. And he isn't gonna have to settle for him or Rhyme making it out, as you're gonna make sure it's all of you. These three partners are perfectly contrasted with the bosses of the week, the Game Masters, the three Reapers who take on responsibility of running the game. For week 1, we have, Higashizawa. He's a dumb brute who likes food. Okay, maybe perfectly contrasted is a big term for him, but still. He's noteworthy for being unnoteworthy. He's there for the first week, kind of, and then you take him out at the end of it. You don't hear about him afterwards, and I think that might be on purpose. I believe the reasoning for him being so forgettable and overall easy to take down is just in line with where he falls in the game. This is the first week, and you're already being introduced to your main character, your partner, various other Reapers running the game, multiple minor characters, and just the game as a whole. It's already a lot to take in. Alongside the fact that making this first week so simple contrasts with how crazy and chaotic things get along the way. The difference from week 1 to week 2 is astonishing. From a villain who's barely present and barely speaks, to one of the best characters in the entire series. Higashizawa acts as a boss in title alone. He's here to set the precedent for how the game should normally go, and the next few weeks will break that mold bit by bit, and unravel the game's many rules one by one. And speaking of rule breakers, let's talk about a man who breaks the rules of erasure himself, a candidate for the best character in the whole series, Sho Minamimoto. Sho in one word is chaos. He's a loud and abrasive Reaper who cares about 3 things. 1, trash. 2, math. And 3, erasing Joshua. 1 out of 3 ain't bad. Throughout your week with him, he will constantly show up to berate you with numbers throughout your mission. And I'm not just saying berate you with numbers for no reason, because this man genuinely spouts pie at you when he's angry. He says things like Zeta slow and calls you a yoctogram. These are standout lines from him. He's an honest-to-God mad scientist. Just replace an old geezer who's bitter at the world with a teen who has all the energy at his disposal to do what he pleases. During your week with him, he just makes a big monolith pile of trash, and you don't know why. He just does it, and it comes back later in an amazing way. He's also very upfront about not really respecting the rules for this game. In his mind, he's gunning for the top. Having ownership over this game would put him on the level of the gods, and he just wants that power for himself. In a game where characters like Beat are given a complex story and background, Minamimoto is so one-track, it's honest-to-God respectable. We don't know about his past or why he's here, and that's the best part. He's just here for chaos. Remember that monolith trash tower I mentioned a little bit ago? After you take him out in week 2, he uses this landfill to regenerate himself. He beats Erasure! During the end of week 3, it turns into this mad dash to not only find out who the game's composer is, but to take them out. At this point, you and Sho are both gunning for it. And all of this is backed up with him being able to cast some of the strongest magic in Square Enix canon. This, along with Joshua, makes week 2 my favorite in the whole game. It's a character building gauntlet for Neku. You just learned that you might maybe kinda like to hang out with certain people, and suddenly you're reminded that the world is a cold, harsh place, filled with disparaging remarks from a twink, and loud, brash numbers from a trash panda. Sho is a madman who deserves to be brought back again and again. We have no clue what his background is, but he does. We have no idea how this game is working behind the scenes, but he does. We don't know what is going on through his head, but he does. And if we get a third game, I honestly want to keep it a mystery. For the boss of week 3, we've got Mitsuki Konishi, a woman who stands out as stalwartly loyal to the composer, only to ditch that in the final few days and try to take the power of them for herself. She's cruel, not just to you, but to Beat and everyone who's in this game. She's a fucking office boss, and she does not hesitate to let everybody know where they rank in her eye. She contrasts with Beat perfectly, Beat being a part-time Reaper who quit to save his friend, and her being a full-time Reaper who is well and truly in it for herself. While Beat in week 3 is kind for as emotionally intelligent as he isn't, she is the opposite. Well and truly morally bankrupt, in her mind fitting to be the composer. In a way, she perfectly encapsulates the Reaper's game, a cruel system that is slowly breaking down as the weeks go by, only to throw it all away at the end. There's other characters to love in this game. Izuki and Karia come to mind as being the Jesse and James Reaper dynamic, one who cares about being a Reaper as a job and is hoping to rank up the honest way with hard work, and one who honestly is just kind of there for the thrill of it. But I think it's time we talk about Neku, the main character of this game, the one who I've been trying so hard to script around during this part. Neku's arc is a somewhat standard one, but executed in a phenomenal way. It's the classic story of someone who's shut off from the world, learning to open their heart and trust people again. to experience new things, and to not be such a stick in the mud. Neku starts dead set on not getting along with anybody. In his mind, he's doing this for him. Anybody else would just get in the way. Of course, this leads to almost constant bickering with Shiki, who's just trying to make it to the end of this week and get this over with, and having a partner who would cooperate would be pretty damn conducive to winning this game. I've met many people who did not like Neku at first, and that's kind of the point. This first week is to show you how bad Neku is at the start and why that can't work. It has narrative meaning. He represents the worst of Shibuya in this game at the start. Yet, throughout week 1, meeting Shiki, Beat, Rhyme, and Hanakoma, you start to open up more. You start to think and work with Shiki. You two become incredibly close, with Neku telling Shiki in what could be their last moments together that he'll meet her on the other side. The real Shiki. You're then put through week 2, which feels like the world trying to beat back that pessimism into Neku. With Joshua being as, well, Joshua as he is, and Sho not making any sense, and Beat turning to the Reaper's side, it feels like Neku's on the verge of breaking, and simply relapsing back on the thoughts that he used to have at the start of the game. But that's when an important character steps in. Hanakoma. Hanakoma is known in the RG under the alias Cat, who is one of Neku's idols, a graffiti artist who makes work that Neku will always remember fondly. And Mr. H shares a lot of important life lessons with Neku during their encounter this week. He understands that Neku isn't enjoying this. He understands Joshua is a pain to work with, but he shows Neku there is a reason to keep fighting, why he shouldn't just board himself up with his emotions. It's an honest-to-God impromptu therapy session. The world ends with you. If you want to enjoy life, expand your world. You gotta push your horizons as far as they'll go. This has also helped out with a couple of players, Soda and Now. They're not exactly special or noteworthy characters in their own right, but they're here to show Neku's growth. If they showed up in week 1, Neku probably wouldn't care about them at all. Hell, he probably wouldn't have a conversation with them, but he does now. He talks to them about what's been going on, and when they get erased, he well and truly feels bad for them. The light Hanakoma shared in such a dark time really gets to Neku and motivates him. It helps him realize he's already halfway there. He's open to pushing past his limits. There's going to be a light at the end of the tunnel. And while Joshua may be hindering this in some ways, it's clear that at the end of the day, they're getting done what they need to do. While being toyed with may be obnoxious for Neku, it'll be over once they get out of here. Week 3 is where we truly see what Neku has become. Teaming up with Beat shows how he's able to grow from being the shut-off kid to someone who's genuinely willing to help. You work through Beat's trauma and mindset with him throughout this week. You grow to understand why he became the Reaper and what he did. And in turn, Beat offers their companionship to Neku. The two are almost polar opposites. Neku is calm, but Beat is energetic, yet the two match each other's energy perfectly here. Neku making sly little quips here and there and playing along with Beat's energy, it shows that he learned to not just take the advice from Shiki and Hanakoma, but a little bit of Joshua's playfulness. We truly see Neku at his peak here, a character who's gone through the ringer and has come out better because of it, with the hope that once they all get out of this game, him, Shiki, Rhyme, Beat, and even Joshua will all get together and hang out. They're all gonna be friends. Neku ends up showing that even the worst people can change. Even people who are so closed off and don't want to listen to anything anybody has to say are simply one good or bad day away from making that decision. Simply one friend, one person to care about away from being a truly and wholeheartedly good person. Hi! Welcome back those who skipped the most emotional part of this video. Are you ready to hear me talk about aesthetics and why this game kicks ass? TWEWY lives and breathes its skater underground art style and music. From the dingy J-rap and rock to graffiti art style and character designs, it truly rocks the era it's from unabashedly, and I respect it. I don't tend to listen to video game music on my own much. I've just never been one of those people who feels the need to shit on music while proclaiming chiptune as a faith-based religion to die for, but this game's soundtrack is one of the few I keep on my Spotify playlist. Songs like Calling, Someday, Noisy Noise, and the main theme of Twister are all amazing and have gotten a reputation from the TWEWY community for being some of the best music this era of games has to offer. Alongside tracks like O-Parts, Amnesia, and Make or Break being amazing tone setters in the game itself. The gameplay of this game is also amazing. It works very slightly differently depending on which version of the game you're using. If you're on the DS version, it uses both the touchscreen and buttons. You move and attack with Neku using the touchscreen, and your partner on the top screen uses button prompts. In any other version, however, it's simply touchscreen tapping and swiping. It gets a little tiring after extended play sessions, but overall, it's fun in its own way. I've heard people say the Switch port ruins it by taking out the two screens dynamic, but Listen man, I still think it's fun. This is how I played the game for the first time and I still adored it. And going forward, this will be the version of the game I'm explaining. But that doesn't mean you should write off the DS version. These pins are your attacks. They do a variety of different things. Shooting electricity, telekinesis, healing you, giving you a hand sword. It's all awesome. Your partner has their own assist, which you can call in either with specific swiping or tapping motions. A big part of this game's theme is working with your partner, and that's reflected in this game's sync meter. If you combo you and your partner's attacks enough, you get to play a fun little minigame. Once that minigame is done, you unleash the corresponding level of havoc upon your enemies. It's an amazing way to embody the game's themes into gameplay. Also, the stylistic choice this game makes to use days and weeks as its gameplay splits rather than naming them something like chapters makes everything flow together so much better. And it feels like each day includes something brand new, almost like that fits with the game's theme of not being afraid to experience new things. I don't know. I also want to include my 2 little ramblings here in this segment because they don't fit into any other segment of this video, so please let me introduce Indigo's dumb ideas for TWEWY spin-offs. TWEWY includes this side mode known as Tin Pin Slammer. Essentially, think of Beyblade but with pins. It's actually pretty enjoyable in this game and has its own little side mode to play just for fun. You mainly only really get to play it against CPUs, but what if you could do more? Square, look at me and listen to me. Tin Pin Slammer, the mobile game. The pins have different looks, and I bet you could pull at least a handful of suckers' dollars from them if you gacha game this shit. Let's say hypothetically you have a gacha pull for the pins themselves, with your little rarity systems and the like, but let's also throw in a gacha system for who your partner is. You can drip feed the TWEWY main and sidecast through that. I know at least 2 people who would pay money to play Beyblade with Shomi Namimoto at their side. The second idea I have is more respectable to some. I mentioned the sync meter being for combos between partners. How about a TWEWY tag fighter? You select 2 characters from the roster and pair them together. When you do a combo between the 2, either from tagging out or calling their assist, you gain some sync meter, and each pair can have a different super they do after maxing out that meter. Not to mention this game's art style and aesthetic would look totally amazing on a fighting game menu or UI. And you're not exactly hurting on moveset ideas. You have how many pins in TWEWY and you're telling me you can't make 10 to 12 character movesets? Get real. I could also imagine the round start little dialogues would be amazing. Seeing Josh and Sho chastise each other between rounds would alone make this idea worth it. Hell, you had TWEWY characters in Kingdom Hearts. Let Sora and Riku come in as guest fighters. I'm sure that wouldn't be hell for the entire timeline. Everything I've mentioned so far is why I have a section of my brain allocated to simply storing my thoughts and loves for TWEWY. From its characters being truly lovable goofballs who I simply wish to throw in a microwave to watch them rotate, to its art style and music being top-notch in my mind. The message of breaking out of your cage to experience what life has to offer truly hit home with me. Not to get too personal, but Christ, look at what I'm doing now! I'm doing a scripted video essay when all I've done before is gameplay highlights and Smash commentaries. Is that not reflective of this game's main theme? I highly recommend, if you haven't played or experienced this story yet, you should do so. I know many people who have it on their I'll get around to it list, and it's worth a playthrough so much. As I mentioned before, there's the original DS version and the Switch version as the 2 most accessible ways to play this game, and the Switch version has the extra canon content to it, but many will die by the DS version's controls. To my knowledge, there's an old phone version of this game that got delisted last year, Solo Remix, that fans have ported to the goddamn PSP. That's just impressive. And if you don't feel like playing anything, there's the anime. I didn't watch it. Listen, it looks pretty, and it's probably an okay recap of the story, but quite frankly, I've heard nothing about it. This game genuinely got me to think deeper about the media experience and got me to experience life so much more than I did at one point. These characters are so special to me, from both what we see in the series to the fan content surrounding them. If this video leaves you with one imprint, it's this. Play TWEWY. Experience something new. And if you can believe it, I actually like the sequel more. Hey! Thank you so much for watching the video. This was a massive undertaking, so I want to thank my friends for looking over the script. I also want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to hit all those buttons YouTube wants you to click. It's kind of a risk for a channel my size to be making something so radically different like this, so any support you can give this video would genuinely mean a lot to me. And lastly, I want to thank the channel members, Luminosity and Linksicle. Y'all are the best, and if you want to get access to videos early alongside getting your name at the end of these videos, join the channel. It's $5.99 and helps me immensely. I've been Indigo, and here's Twister, my outro music. Show me your best at crystal blisters, it's all over now. Psycho can't use the candy more candy cane. Cold, cold, freak.